It is time for another special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and in studio with us today is the Post Commander.
Yes, sir.
I can say that, right?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Shad Caplinger from the Ohio State Highway Patrol. He's the Post Commander at Circleville. We're going to explain safety today, and we're going to talk about seatbelt safety and many other things as well. Right after this, more friends at Classic Brands. Are you looking for a beer that satisfies your thirst and love of country? Armed Forces Brewing Company brews beer for patriots. Celebrate freedom with every sip. Armed Forces Brewing Company. Freedom never tasted so good. And this is probably the perfect time to say, drink responsibly. And that means not behind the wheel, right?
Yes, we definitely promote responsible decisions and someone not being impaired behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah. And it's not always drinking. I mean, there's drugs involved, some of the prescription drugs, others recreational. And I know that was a big concern when the marijuana was legalized for a lot of folks. But we just want you to remember, be responsible.
Yes. As you mentioned, there's many ways to be impaired, and sometimes it can even be something you're prescribed to take from a doctor. But we definitely don't want anybody to be impaired that would, harm them or harm someone else, unfortunately.
Yeah. We will talk accidents, crashes here in just a moment. But first, let's get into the seatbelts and how they save lives. I feel naked if I don't have a seatbelt on.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, I just don't know how many people feel the same way.
Yeah, and that's what's unfortunate is seatbelts have been proven to help you not become injured or, tragically, ejected from the vehicle or killed if your vehicle's in a crash.
Yeah, I know that the car that I have, it will remind you after you're going 10 miles an hour, get that seatbelt on, and it's as if it's just nagging at you,
Yeah, and I've seen people get creative with that, unfortunately, and they will buckle it behind them or something. Just wear it, be safe. We don't want you to be in a crash, but we certainly don't want to arrive after someone has been in a crash and find them injured or ejected and killed, as a result of a crash.
We were talking a moment ago before going on the air about having a chance meeting one time. It was an unfortunate situation where my wife was driving and someone went to pass us, and the car flipped, did several things. These were local kids, and we were up in Pickaway County, and you were on duty that night. The red and blue lights were flashing, and he says, "Mr. Ramey," and I couldn't see who it was, and I'm like, "Shad Caplinger."
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you
it's
see too much of that, don't you?
Yes, it is. It's tragic. And we were talking earlier, we process a scene that's tragic and you see horrible things. And then after that comes a notification to a family that, the loved one that they were expecting to come home is not going to come home. And that's a very difficult thing to get through as well. And I've said a lot of prayers on my way to, let a family know, but no matter how well we prepare that message, it's never good enough because that's just the worst news a family could ever get. So as a state trooper, we take that very seriously. We want to prevent crashes. We don't want to process a bad scene, and then we don't want to have to go notify a family that they're going to be missing a loved one.
Yeah, and if you you have to go to their location, don't you, to notify them?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because if not, then suddenly panic can set in, someone rushing to get to the accident scene, and that creates yet another issue.
Yes, and I've seen folks show up at a scene as well, and it's rough. No matter where that takes place, it's just bad. So, like we were talking earlier, until we get the traffic fatality numbers down to zero, we have work to do. But it takes all of us. It takes folks out driving and making responsible decisions as well. So our intention is to get that number to zero, but we need help doing that. So I appreciate you having us on today so we can, share that message and your listeners and viewers can see that.
Dom Tarry, 10 TV sports anchor, and his Maria campaign, he lost his daughter. We had the opportunity to hear him speak to Chillicothe High School student body, and it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. To hear the parents' side of you showing up at their door, I don't want to imagine what that is like, but hopefully you get the kids' attention. And let's be honest, when you're 17, 18 years old, your mind is on a lot of things other than what you're supposed to be focused on for the however long you're behind the wheel.
Sure. I've heard Mr. Taberry's message, and he does a phenomenal job. It's a great message. It's a much-needed message. And I have a lot of respect for him because you can see, his pain that his family's going through, and you can hear straight from his heart. And that is that, God's blessed me with my own children, and that is every parent's worst nightmare is that something would happen to one of your children. So, again, that's why we're here today, to continue to let people know that you need to make good choices and you need to be buckled up and be safe out there, because we want you to get to your destination, and so does your family and your loved ones.
I know seatbelt safety is important. There is a low percentage of where it is not a deterrent. There have been times where someone's been in a crash that the seatbelt unfortunately did not save their life due to freak moments, But I would have to say 99% of the time, it's going to help more than hinder.
Definitely, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So I've been a state trooper for 25 years, and throughout the course of my career, I've had a lot of roadside conversations with persons, and stop them for a violation, and then talk to them, seeing that they're not wearing their seatbelt, and have that conversation with them. And folks have asked me that, oh well, so and so had a crash, and if they wouldn't have had their seatbelt on, they would have lived. And I can just speak from my heart that in my career, I haven't had to cut someone out of a seatbelt. The seatbelt never caused a fatality in my career, scenes that I've been on, and I've been on too many. And I've been on very, very tragic scenes where a seatbelt would have saved someone's life. So through my experience and through, I know a lot of state troopers, the experiences that we've all shared is that seatbelt would have saved their life.
Yeah. Have you ever pulled someone over that had
Yes.
the T-shirt on that had the seatbelt printed on the front of the shirt?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever stopped somebody. I've seen T-shirts like that, but I don't think in a traffic stop.
Which is a good thing. A good thing. Statistically, can you share some statistics in regards to seatbelt safety?
Yeah, so since 2019, 2,554 persons have died in an automobile crash that a seatbelt was available to them. So that's 2,500 loved ones that we could still have with us. That seatbelt would have made a difference. Yeah. So that's too many.
Mm-hmm. We're coming off Labor Day weekend, and it seems every holiday weekend like this, there's a fatality and a total fatality. What can we do other than awareness to make sure people wear the seatbelt?
Well, we talk about educating persons just like today. Appreciate you allowing us to get the message out. There's the enforcement piece where we're stopping and educating persons one-on-one on the side of the road. And then there's engineering that ODOT and our partners, the county engineers' offices, there's a lot of partners that help design roadways and, make our roadways safer. So all those things together, we're hoping will continue to drive those numbers down. However, cars are safer today. The roadways are safer, and we're still seeing tragic loss of life on our roadways. So, it's the same message, but we continually push that because it's going to make a difference.
The common denominator is the person behind the wheel, and if there's distraction involved, and we talk so much about the hands down, if you got that phone, set it down. Hopefully, like the car that I purchased here about a year ago has CarPlay in it, so when he called me earlier, I was able to simply push the button and respond. But not everybody has that in their vehicle, so it's difficult for them.
Sure. Yeah, and that it comes down to decision making. Being responsible, not being selfish and driving impaired. And, you know, I would challenge everybody too. Everybody has a family member or a loved one possibly that maybe they know doesn't wear their seatbelt. You know, I would encourage them to tell them, hey, I love you, and that's why I want you to wear your seatbelt. You know, I meet folks on the side of the road that I don't know previously, but I care about them because I know that if they're in a crash, I don't want to meet them either in a tragedy or them seriously injured. So I still care about the people that I'm stopping, even though I don't know them. So it's nice if you do know somebody, you know, say something to them about it and encourage them out of love that, hey, if you were involved in a crash that you can't control, you can control putting that seatbelt on. It may save your life.
Right. So mom, dad, aunts, uncles, grandmas, just to remind them when you put that seatbelt on, it's like a hug from me when you're doing that. And maybe that'll encourage people along the way.
Yes, sir.
What else do you want to touch on here today? Because we've got a lot of notes in front of us here.
Yeah, I brought some things. Brought some things to remind folks. You know, I will also say too, and this hits home. You know, since 2019, we've had the opportunity where we've cited drivers 350,000 times for a child not properly restrained. You know, take care of your kiddos as you're driving. You know, put them in a booster seat. If they're over the age of 4, but prior to that, they need to be in a child safety seat. And there's many different community action groups that provide those for free of charge. So, you know, in 2024, there's no reason to not have a child properly restrained in the vehicle, and that's going to keep them safe. Protect that child that can't make the decision on their own yet to wear that seatbelt and be properly restrained.
Believe me, having a 5-year-old granddaughter, we've gone through this conversation when she rides with Mimi and Pop. You know, you got to make sure you have that shoulder strap around you. Now, as the child ages, it comes down to a growth thing, because if their feet can touch the floorboard, they don't have to be in the booster seat, right?
It's 4'9". Okay. So, you know, Ohio law shows that between the ages of 4 and 8 and 4 feet 9. But, you know, what I would encourage people to is just see where that seatbelt's laying on them. And, you know, even if they feel more comfortable in that booster seat and it's safer for them, then do what's safest for the child there and comply with the law. Because the law's there to protect these children.
I think the one thing she likes is she sits higher so she's able to see out the window. And I remember as a kid not having to wear a seatbelt, you know, growing up in the 1960s and 70s. But how many times I had mom's hand come right up against my chest to protect me because she was hitting the brakes. And that's not always easy to do.
No, it's not. And talk about a distraction, that would be difficult to do. So, you know, like I said, in 2024, we have all the resources available. Just take advantage of those and make sure the kids are, you know, properly restrained.
Yeah. We had in town here recently the Ford Model T vehicles. There was, 60 or so of them going around. Are they required to have seatbelts in these historic vehicles?
No, because the vehicle was manufactured prior to 1968 when the vehicle was probably equipped with the seatbelt, so they're not required to do that. But I've had people stop and ask me that, and I always say, well, you know, if you want to have it equipped with a seatbelt, I would encourage you to do that. Because, you know, what if you were in a crash? But, you know, some folks don't want to change the historic, you know, quality of the vehicle, but
which probably includes it doesn't go 65.
Probably. You know, I've never ridden in one of those, but I wouldn't think so.
I've only ridden in them at Kings Island, you know. That's
right.
About it. But when we look at how things have changed here today, and perhaps one of the local police officers could answer this better, but in regards to the golf carts now that have been legalized to ride on the roadways,
right?
You probably don't see that as much on the highway as you do on the city streets.
Yeah, primarily just in the municipalities where that's allowed, and you know they still have to go through an inspection process and you know have the vehicle registered. So you do see some from time to time, but not on the interstate or anything.
Yeah, and even in the rural highways, I still see kids on the four-wheelers flying up and down the road, and most of them are not wearing helmets.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Unfortunately, those things that we all see lead to tragedy or could.
Yeah.
So, wearing a helmet, not riding a four-wheeler on the roadway, and just being very careful as you're out enjoying those things, because we've seen things on private property that end in tragedy as well.
Right. Yeah. Anything going on with the State Patrol that, like you had open houses last year across the Buckeye State? Anything in that regard?
No, we had the open houses celebrating our 90th birthday. The November 15th, 1933 is the Highway Patrol's birthday. So we were all celebrating our 90 years of service to Ohio and motorists in Ohio. So that was a good time, a celebration, and it was nice to see the public come to the post and interact with us, and really just kind of have some really good conversations. We had a lot of the retirees come and stuff. So it was a really good time to celebrate our history and to share that with our communities, as we did that. So no open houses particularly scheduled right now, but, we are hiring, so it's a good time to talk about recruitment. We need good men and women to step forward and, stand in that gap for us and really be the safety spokespersons for their community. So
we were talking just yesterday on our daily show about the QR code for recruitment that's on the bumper of some of the cruisers. I noticed you didn't have one on yours, by the way.
Okay.
But to me, that seems like, is this an entrapment tool? Because we're not supposed to have that smartphone in our hands. However, if you're a passenger, you can take a QR code picture there, or if you're parked somewhere having lunch or whatever, it's a good tool.
Yeah, so, and I'm glad you brought that up. So, our patrol car is readily identifiable. And when we are doing a recruitment event, our cruisers are there with us. So that's a good time to have someone scan that QR code, learn a little bit about us. And then also it's a good talking point because everybody wants to see the cruisers. And as a third generation law enforcement officer, when my dad brought his cruiser home and that cruiser was parked in the driveway, I thought that was the greatest thing. And I wanted to go sit in it. I wanted to touch it. And, I've always enjoyed people seeing my cruiser and sitting in it, turning on the lights and the siren. And, that is a really good opportunity while they're having that interaction with us to scan the QR code and get some more information. And then we encourage, if you are interested in that, check us out at statepatrol.ohio online, and then, schedule a ride along with us. Come out and see what a state trooper does and see how you can make a difference in your community.
1979, I was a Buckeye Boy State, and I was a state patrolman.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And so that was my early feel for the state patrol. I went to take the exam with about 150 other guys at the academy, and they took 5 back. That's not an easy test to go through. Is it still like that? Because you're wanting the best of the best.
Yes. No, it's there's a lot of things that have changed since then, but now. So if you're interested in it, don't let something hold you back. Give it your best shot, and the good Lord's got a plan for us. So if you're interested in being a state trooper, give it a shot. And come apply, and we still have a testing process, but come check us out. And if it's the right fit for you, I'm sure it'll work out.
I thought I might even be a dispatcher at some point in time, and it was for the Circleville Post, which was my post when I was in school. So good to see that we've got a local guy in that position right now.
I appreciate that.
How long have you been at Circleville?
Well, this is my 3rd tour at the Circleville Post.
Is that
so
right?
I came to Circleville as a trooper in '99. Came back as a sergeant in 2008, and then came back as the post commander in 2021. So very proud of the people that I've got to work with. Many people, including my dispatchers, that have poured into me over the years, and great community, great post. I've had a lot of fun, got to work with just amazing people at the Circleville Post. And we're just one of 59 posts. And I'm sure everyone can say the same across the state in their careers, but I've had the pleasure of working close to home and serving Pickaway County, and just it's been great for me, and God's blessed me with the opportunity.
Yeah. And one more thing about his car, you'll see a front license plate that says ACE, and it has 5 lightning bolts on it. That is for recovery of stolen vehicles, right?
Yes, sir. I'll just tell you, I used to have a local pastor here, Pastor Stephen Schmidt. He would always tell me to pray expectingly, and I wanted to go out and make a difference in my community, and said a lot of prayers, and God blessed me with the opportunity to get people their cars back, and have some wild car chases, and all the fun things that you dream of when you're young and you want to be a state trooper. But God's really blessed me with some protection, and also blessings of recovering stolen vehicles and catching bad guys.
Yeah. We all miss Steve Schmidt. He was I know when you were a Chillicothe Cavalier football player, he was very instrumental in helping with the football team because of Nick Schmidt.
Yes, yeah, played with Nick, great football player. Yeah, so great family, good people, and it's really an honor just to bring up Steve's name because he poured into my life. What a great man. And we know where Steve's at, so he went to be with the Lord. So very proud of him, and again, just a great family, and really enjoyed playing football with Nick over the years. So,
third generation officer as well, and get a chance to see his dad every once in a while. I don't remember ever meeting your grandfather.
Yeah, so my grandfather Kenny was a captain of the Chillicothe Police Department. Okay. Passed away at the age of 59. So that's probably why you didn't meet him. Yeah. But passed away too young, way too early. But great man. I'm very blessed to try to fill their shoes or follow in their footsteps, if you will. But yeah, God's blessed me with them in my life, and I always told my dad he's the best cop that there ever was. So it's just very, very proud of them and their service to the community.
His mom's even come to the rescue one time. Matt Bruning was working at WBEX at the time. I was coming back from Ohio State along with one of our sales people. We had been to the Ohio State Football Radio Network gathering. We're on the way back. Nobody thought to look at the gas gauge. And we ran out of gas on 104 up by Deer Creek, the bridge there. And your mom heard the call on the radio that Matt put out and brought us some gas.
There you go.
So
God's blessed me with
they've been in public service for a long time.
Yes, good, very good parents that raised me. So I'm glad to hear that.
Good to have you in today. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for what you're doing. And anytime you want to talk about safety,
let's do it again sometime.
It's an open door, as they say. Shad Caplinger, Lieutenant Shad Caplinger from the Circleville Post of the Ohio State Highway Patrol on our special edition of Litter Media Live.